This is the Grow Business Podcast with Cory Mosley.
Predictions on what's going to happen at any point in time.
It's called gambling.
Yeah.
I tend to lose.
Can't make any forward-looking statements.
Right, exactly.
That's what they would always tell the C-suite people, particularly public companies. If I was doing an interview, they'd have all their, the bigger the company, the more people they have flanking them, right?
Exactly.
From comms and PR and all the different, and no forward. We've got to make sure he makes no forward-looking statements.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I still don't even know. I got to look that up, what the actual definition of what that means.
Right.
All I know is they weren't allowed to make any of them. So, welcome to another episode of the Grow Business Podcast, the podcast that helps you grow and is apparently growing itself.
Yay.
Yeah. That's right. That yay could come from none other than LG007 Lon Graham's in the house. Hello.
Hey,
Voice
Corey, it's good to be here.
Reason. The voice of also AKA the voice of reason.
Yeah. It's good to be back.
AKA Lord have mercy. AKA yay. You got a lot of AKAs,
We got them.
Still working on that. Anybody screaming your name as you walk through the mall?
The only people screaming my name are the ones I'm cutting off in the parking lot.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're that guy. Okay.
I have been that guy, yes.
Yeah, I don't want to put your vehicle out there, but if you see anybody driving German and swerving, it's LG007 out there. We're also joined by, of course, you know him. He's the man pushing all the buttons. Willie H is here.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, he gives himself a bullhorn.
Yeah.
That's your bullhorn of choice.
There you go.
Let's hear that one more time. I see. You got to pick. Now you know what button it was.
There you go. Right.
He's got a lot of buttons. He pulled out some surprises on our last episode. So we're super excited to be here with you. As always, we start with that big old thank you. Continue to look at those numbers. I'm liking those. I'm liking those charts.
Yeah.
Big on Spotify.
Thank you indeed, Spotify listeners.
Thank you to Spotify. A lot of things happening on Spotify. I mean, Apple's there. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. You can find us on Google.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us on Amazon. Are you sending me a message? Were you telling me something? Oh, it's giving me applause. That was a silent applause. Oh, you were going to hit applause now. Go ahead. Yeah, okay. That's all right.
Yeah.
Listen, we're not 100% polished. We're still...
Right.
I'm convinced by episode 500, we'll have this all dialed in, right? I won't even have to cue anything. It's just going to go. So we still get creative grace from everybody. But Amazon, Google, I think Radio Republic is now coming up. iHeart, we're streaming on iHeart now too.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so we continue to grow, continue to work on it. And really, our focus is to give you value, right? There's so much information out there. We're suffering from information overload. So if there's one place that you might be able to tune in every week for reliable information, maybe some thought starters, maybe some tactical things, and we want to entertain. There's a story or two in there. There's some level of ridiculousness. There's something that has taken place. We're gonna have to start the ridiculous finding of the week, like something we just saw, through media somewhere that was just so ridiculous it had to be talked about,
right?
Or not. But today we've got another great show for you here. Today we are talking about. Any idea, LG, what we're talking about? Huh?
I'm coming prepared to find out.
Okay.
That's how I'm coming
That's
prepared.
Good. That's the right attitude. See, he always the optimist, this guy, no matter what is happening, right? Always the optimist. All right. Today we're talking about 5 strategies.
Okay.
I shouldn't say that. I should always say the number. We're going to talk about strategies because that's indeterminate, right?
We can get through 5.
Yeah, we can get through 5. Safe bet.
Safe bet.
We're going to talk about strategies to help business owners rapidly acquire new skills.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. There he is.
Because new skills are needed in today's environment.
That's correct.
Right? Consulting guru, mentor of mine, Alan Weiss,
okay,
says there is no such thing as going back to normal.
No.
Right?
Correct.
Any pre-pandemic strategy will not work post-pandemic. Everything has changed. He loves to trademark stuff, so he's trademarked the no normal.
Okay.
Right? That's his new no normal. And he talked about this in his latest book. And we actually had him on RVA Small Business Network early on. We were talking about that book when that book came out, for sure. So shout out to Alan Weiss.
Yeah.
You know, business owners often find themselves in dynamic environments, right? Where the ability to quickly learn a skill is crucial and critical to be competitive.
Yes.
So the question is, how do we do that? And how do we do that in a way that fits us having to work in the business and on the business at the same time?
Right.
And that's really what we want to talk about.
It's a good topic. It's a great topic.
You talk about old dog, new tricks.
Right.
We talk about those things. And I think that keeps a lot of people stagnant, right? The this is how we've always done it theory.
Right.
Now, people will consider those, what I find often is people who don't like change, and there's a military general, it's anonymous, but they're quoted as a former military general. It says, people who hate change will hate irrelevance a lot more.
That's right. That is right. Well, I think, all we've got to do is look to the topic or the title of this podcast. If you want to continue to grow your business, this conversation is critical because you have to continue to develop skills.
That's right.
And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, 100%. And what I was going to say is, what people like to rely on a lot of times is people like to fall back on terminology. They'll say things like, we got to get back to the basics. It's the fundamentals.
Right.
Right. I'm thinking Wall Street's one of my favorite movies. So I'm thinking back to the scene where, he's like, Merrill and these guys, Bank of America, GM, they weren't built. Hilton wasn't built overnight. It was the fundamentals. No matter what the up and downs were, it was the fundamentals that were sound.
Right.
And so some of the challenges with that thinking as an anchor, because I call it an anchor, that's an anchor that people use to justify not learning anything new. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just a fad. I don't have time to chase all these fads. I don't have time to chase all these different social media channels. I don't have time for all of those things. Or this software system, the one I got works just fine. I don't care that it can do 62 other things.
Right.
I was on see, stories always come up.
Good.
I was on a conference call with the finance department of an organization we were doing business with. And I think it was their comptroller. It was the tier 1 accountant, whatever, all the different level 1, this, that, and the other.
Right.
And this was like an urgent Zoom that I needed to get on.
Okay.
The conversation and topic was the controversy of connecting Stripe to a checkout page for Workshop.
Okay.
That's just dumb.
Perfect.
That was the controversy.
Okay.
That all these people were involved because, how's that's going to mess up accounting and this, that, and the other, and how are we going to manage that process, and how are we going to look at this and that, and why do we do this? And I watched 3-4 people from the department go back and forth about something that should have been very, very simple.
Okay.
And that was baffling to me. But the reason was it was change.
Right.
Many of the people have been there in that seat for 30 years.
Okay.
15 years.
Right.
They know their system cold. So the idea of something coming in that was going to disrupt that even for just a little,
right,
or a new process or a little extra step was terrifying.
Okay.
There's a lot of people who remain stagnant, stuck, and stalled.
Right.
Off of that very principle.
Lord have mercy.
It's almost like he's waiting for the perfect opportunity.
He's got that locked in.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, William's doing such a great job of dropping these.
Yes.
So thank you for all the work he's doing.
There's an endless amount on the way.
Exactly.
Hit the buttons, William.
Perfect.
I love it.
Yeah, look, what you said is true. What you said is true. There are people that are not willing to do things differently because it requires that them change their rituals, their habits, what they know, their level of comfort, whatever you want to call it. And the challenge for that is that gets in the way of growth. And what you just said, what you just described, I will summarize this way. The people that were on that call were unwilling to add new ways to generate revenue, which means they weren't willing to grow their business.
And the argument I'll get to is that, time. I can't learn everything.
Okay.
Someone will say me, I rage against DIY in a lot of different ways. There's just certain things that we shouldn't be doing that we want to have resources for. But creating skill and looking at specific skills. So this is number one, really, is identifying key skills. Right. I'm not saying, during COVID, I thought I was going to learn Chinese. So, I, like everybody, I bought the, Rosetta Stone had the, buy it forever and learn all the languages or whatever. Right. So I started learning Chinese, and I was on there and doing some things. And then, life came up and then, Mandarin, I didn't really get past ni hao. So, but ni hao to any of my Chinese friends that may be listening also.
Now for us non-versed, what does that mean?
Oh, just hello.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's it. Right. That's the basic, right? We learned to count first. Like you learn, and I was doing some situational stuff. Now I was doing pretty good. Okay. But then more important things came in. So I want to start with this idea. Right. We're talking about key skills, right? Because you can't, if you're spending all day learning, right, you're not spending any time earning, right? That's that one
might be coming back.
Yeah, write that one down.
Yeah, good thing we're recording this again, right? Right.
So no one says, "Oh, Cory, you told me I just need to be buying a bunch of courses and all this stuff." No, I want you to determine specific skills that will have the most impact on your business.
Okay, good.
Okay. So looking at those skills that align with goals, that align with the needs of the industry also. So we're really talking about prioritizing the things that will directly contribute to solving pressing challenges or allow you to capitalize on new opportunities.
Right.
Now you need to identify, I'm not going to tell you what that is, but I will tell you for sure, and I know you will agree with this. As a business owner, one of those things better be sales skills.
Yes, indeed. Somebody in your business better be selling, and if you're the owner, you should be always selling.
And the lack of investment in that area in the small business community. Right. I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to. We don't push people. We make a great product. If you like our product, you buy it. If you don't, you don't. Okay. I mean, if you don't have a captive audience,
right,
that's going to be a problem, that attitude.
Well, nobody buys a secret. And if you don't tell them, then your business is a secret. And nobody buys the best kept secret.
Voice of reason. Yeah, look at that. That was a moment right there. Yeah, that was, listen, I never know what's going to happen. I don't know what. We need to start doing some, get some essential oils in here, get some chakras. And yeah, there's a lot. We're going to get a lot done here, but it is super important. And people discount that and they let busy work take over. Right. Instead of some of those foundational things that will now serve you forever once you mastering that type of skill. Right. And don't think because you're a baker, you don't have to have sales skills, right, or think because you have, you're a landscaper and you don't need to have sales skills, right?
Well, and it's an easy trap to fall into. And as somebody who spent the majority of my life selling products, I will say that even periodically, I'm standing firmly on the ground in front of a mirror when I say it, even I will sometimes defer to administrative tasks.
Yeah, sure.
Just because, I got to do it sometime. Now's a good time.
Right.
And that's not a good answer. Because you've got to be able to drive impact. And the way to drive impact is to talk about your business. And if you know how to sell, or if you know a little bit about selling, you're going to be able to increase the impact, increase visibility, and you'll get people to buy.
Yeah, and that's just one example, right? I mean, I gave up. I didn't keep pursuing Mandarin simply because that didn't fall in terms of the specific skill.
Right.
Now, if I had pursued that, could I get fluent? Now, would that open new opportunities? Of course, particularly if I wanted to go overseas.
Right.
I get a big keynote fee to go to China. That's a big keynote fee.
There you go.
Now, you can still do that and have translators, but man, how crazy, how authentic would that be?
Oh, my goodness.
If I was over there dropping a 1-hour keynote in Mandarin, just killing it.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
I'd like to see that. I watched these videos online. There's a guy that learned, I think it is Mandarin. It's Mandarin, and then I think he knows Cantonese too.
Okay.
So he goes around and he has the videos, like he'll go into a nail salon or go into particularly like an eatery.
Okay.
That's unique, that's ethnic eatery. And, they'll be in there talking, and then he'll just start bust out, and then he records their reactions.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they'll be talking,
Sure.
whatever, and then he'll jump in, and then you'll just see their eyes bug out of their face.
Oh, my
like,
goodness.
you speak Cantonese, you speak, and then he'll just start talking, or he'll go up and he'll order straight in their language, and they're just so stunned because he's like a pale white dude,
right?
So it's like, how do you know our language? And it's just hilarious to watch. So I'd like to do something like that one day.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, one day.
Maybe I'll crack that Rosetta Stone back in, back open. All right. So specific skills.
Okay.
So now kind of the next step there is you have to have balance, because many times from an entrepreneurship standpoint, a small business owner, family, home life, work, running the business, you don't necessarily have the luxury, right, of taking hours. You can't do a 10-hour course or some 10-month program. Right. So micro learning.
Okay.
Look for ways. So once you've identified those key skills that you want to learn that can prioritize and be a priority for you.
Right.
What are the resources where you can break down the learning process, right, into smaller, manageable chunks? Because from a micro-learning standpoint, this could mean focusing on learning sessions, but give you an opportunity to start. And I'll give you a great example. I use a service called Blinkist.
Okay.
And Blinkist is, they summarize books.
You've talked about
they
that,
do it, right? They do a 15-minute audio summary,
right,
and then they give you a readable one that's about 15 minutes if you want to read the summary.
Okay.
So you take that whole 300-page book, 400-page book, which might have some great stuff in it, but again, there's stories, there's all different types of things, which could be cool if you have that time.
Right.
But for me, I want to pick up the speed. The average person reads less than one book a year.
Right.
What a tragedy that is.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Even when we talk about video consumption and, Cory, I learned on YouTube and all that's great and well, but just that idea that one less than a book, it's really crazy. So one of the ways for me to get more knowledge, obviously quickly, because I don't think I have the attention span either,
right,
to take a 500. Now I'm reading nonfiction.
Right.
My wife, who reads every day, reads at night, every night, like really rarely misses a night, and could read all day long. Right. But it's fiction. Okay. So I'm like, you're cheating. Because I said, do you know how much household knowledge we could have if you read nonfiction with the veracity that you deal with dragons and vampires and some spicy stuff in there too that I've seen. Man. I'm talking MBA, PhD level, right? But I don't have the attention span for a 400-page deal, and it's nonfiction, right? So, is it a page turner? Now, there are people that get creative, do fables and those different things to tell stories to bring the fiction into the learning lesson, which is a great strategy and technique too. Right. But if you lack attention span, that's a big one, and then also the overall size too. So, I've written 2 books. I've all made them under 200 pages.
Thank you.
Right?
Right.
Like the greatest compliment somebody gave me, the compliment of the book is, I was able to read this book on a flight.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I flew from New Jersey to Texas. I was able to read the book.
Good. Yeah.
And got some great information, highlight, da-da-da-da. Right. But it's that piece. Right. I see that 500 pages or whatever. I don't care what it is. Me personally, it's going to be a tough road for me, even though I'm trying to chunk it down.
Right.
I'd rather start with it chunked down.
Right.
Right. That makes it more digestible. So, micro learning, bite-sized content, bringing that content, maybe it's 10 minutes worth of training.
Right. Well, and you use Blinkist, and so we talk about that. The beauty of that is if there's something in there that you want to learn more about, you can go get that book and start reading that book.
Sure.
You can go do that.
Right.
But you're right. You've got to continue to develop your thought process, your mind, ideas, and with the idea that these are the goals that I have for my business. What are the things that I can do that are going to have a positive impact on my business, on me? And the positive impact on me has a positive impact on my business.
Yeah. No, 100%. And that content, that commitment, because again, people will overcommit.
Right.
And then fall completely off the cliff. Right. So they'll go, okay, great. I'm going to get through this whole course in a weekend. And then that commitment becomes too big.
Right.
And then they just stop.
Right.
Versus saying, there's 62 modules I need to get through. I'm going to watch one a day. And in 60 days, I will have this knowledge.
There you go. Yeah.
Right. That just becomes a potentially more efficient. Now you can integrate. You can do anything for 10 minutes.
Right.
Or 15 minutes.
Right.
Right. Even the busiest person, there's 15 minutes of something or an opportunity to commit to that learning. Right. You agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reality of it, though, is that you've got to prioritize it.
Right.
You've got to decide what it is that you want to get better at, and the way to be committed to it is to understand the impact that it's going to have once you've done it.
Right.
That's
why you've got to have. That's why it's priority skills.
100%. Yeah.
Right. It's got to be actionable. Right. What's the ROI? I tell you, everyone talks about ROI. You also hear me talk about people who've been in my coaching program, been around me. No, I talk about ROE. Right. It's not just my return on investment. It's what is my return on energy.
Right.
Also.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. 100%. Okay. All right. You're right. We are moving swiftly.
We can manage 5. It's when we get more than 5.
Sorry, you're talking about 7, 9.
Right, exactly.
The top 33.
Right. Yeah,
that just sets up cliffhangers for part 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, that's a 60-day program.
Yeah. That's a 60-day program, right? Not exactly bite-sized learning there, right? So, all right. Then there's how I'm going to do it, right? So we talk about utilizing online resources.
Yes.
You've got the LinkedIn Learnings, you've got the Udemy's, you've got Coursera. My opinion, I've vacillated as someone who has produced training material for 20 years,
right?
Produced courses, produced systems. There's the back and forth of the beauty of courses, right?
Right.
Because a lot of times we can be coursed to death.
Right.
And there's a lot of courses, a lot of people being encouraged, a lot of people pursuing that purely as a business model. And that's great if it's high value.
Right.
But anytime you look at commoditizing an industry or an area, that allows Joe Blow to creep in with his $19 course with bad audio, bad video, and frankly, bad information. Right. And could be, plagiarized information, right? you're just regurgitating. So, right. But I mean, courses have a good quality courses and training information.
Right.
Whether there's a lot of free opportunities available, right? There's a lot of people that utilize YouTube as the Bible. I've got a buddy of mine, his thing is, hey, you don't need to buy anybody's stuff. And I think what you're investing in a lot of times when you have a good quality course is shortcuts,
right?
Proven frameworks, proven roadmaps.
Right.
We talked about selling. I go to YouTube right now and I say, improve my sales skills.
Right.
There will be 1 million videos that come up.
Yes.
Some of those people legit,
right?
Meaning I've sold millions and millions of dollars worth of product and for this person and that person or in my business or whatever. And then you're going to have other people who just want to wax poetic.
Right.
Who sound good but haven't done anything.
Right.
Who don't necessarily have the body of work. So yes, there's a ton of free stuff available, free learning opportunities available.
Right.
That doesn't mean that doesn't mean you discount investing in someone's paid course, because I find there's also a lot more time and energy put into a high quality course,
right,
than throwing something together or just going live and trying to share some information.
Well, here's
learning has a structure to it too.
Well, good teaching that leads to good learning absolutely has a structure in it.
Yes.
There's a reason that teachers go to college and then do student teaching.
Right.
And then a lot of them go on to get advanced degrees to learn how to teach people so that they can maximize the opportunity of the information that they're getting.
Right.
This is something that I struggle with. You talk about free courses. Well, those courses don't cost you any money. But if you're spending any time in there, they're costing you time and energy. And so you talked about return on energy. There is nothing free. It's just a matter of what are you exchanging for it.
Right.
And if it doesn't cost you any dollars, it's costing you time and energy. And often the courses that you aren't spending money on are the ones that take the most time. Because you talk about the amount of time and effort that somebody that knows what they're talking about puts into a course that eliminates some of the fluff, eliminates some of the things you don't need to maximize the impact of the time that you're spending in that program.
Yeah. Now, if you have the resources to put out free content, right? I mean, we're putting out free content now that I think is valuable.
Yes.
Right. I mean, could this be organized in a course? Could I do a course on the 5 ways to rapidly learn any new skill? Sure. I mean, we can throw it up on YouTube. We can do that. But this is still a very high quality, high production. Right. So
that's true.
I'm not in my basement. We're not in our basement having this conversation. Now, that doesn't mean good information can't come from your basement.
Right.
But you have to decide, right? Because we can't listen to everybody.
Right.
They asked Gary Vaynerchuk, like, oh, who do you follow? Whose books do you read? He's like, nobody's. And he's like, as arrogant as that sounds, I don't want... That doesn't mean I don't work with experts or hire people, obviously, inside my organizations that have skill sets and take their advice. But like, I don't want to be thrown off. And I also don't want to. There's a guy, I'm not going to get into names, but there's somebody that has a tagline that I've used.
Okay.
And I saw it. I saw them using the tagline. And I started to wonder, did I get that from somebody? Right. Like, did I get that from him?
Okay.
Or did he lift that from me?
Right.
Hold on, Buckaroo. But like, I'm genuinely unsure. Right. Because at first I was going to be like, I'm like, hey, dude, I use that tagline. Right. It's not trademarked or anything. Shame on me, I guess. I'm like, I've used this tagline, but now I'm wondering. Right. Did I see him use it some eons ago and then I was coming up with a cool tagline and I thought I created it? Right. That's the confusion when you consume a lot of different content and then you have an idea and then you're like, was that my idea? Right. Or did I now you want to source? There's a lot of controversy in the comedians world right now about people who steal jokes, like the cardinal sin of being a stand. And you've studied stand up and have done some stand up. Yes. Any dates booked currently?
I'll have to get back. I haven't been writing. I haven't been writing, and that's really
gotcha.
That's really the key.
But yeah, everybody didn't know LG 007 did a little stand up. But there's a lot of controversy. That's the cardinal sin, stealing a joke. So you have people who are they sourcing? So I think that was his idea, right? I don't ever want to be confused of. So I'm not following anybody. I'm scrolling, looking, commenting on my content and the stuff I'm putting out. I'm focused on that. Right. And I think there's something to be said for that. But you need to look at who the people are, what the learning environment is. But there are a lot of great people. Now, there are a lot of companies who offer you free content that they've paid for as a value add. So like a LinkedIn Learning has free courses. They've paid those experts, though, and spent money producing that to be a resource for their grander plan, of course, which is your premium membership and Sales Navigator and the things that they're selling. Marketing guru Alex Hormozi does that, right? Right. So he gives, he'll walk you through everything, like, 45-minute detailed stuff that he can afford to do because that's not his business model. So he can be a value add, and he's really in business acquisition and scaling and these other things. So, but he has the resources to now provide that.
Right.
So I think we need to think about where do we want to go? Where do we want to source that information, and connect with what feels like what you want to accomplish. If I said, "Oh, Lon, take a time management course,"
right?
There's gonna be a lot of those. Right. Where do you find value?
Right.
Do you find value in a single expert who's produced a course? We know a lot in the speaking community.
Right.
I'm trying to think of the name at the top, like Laura Stack.
Okay.
People like that who are productivity experts. Right. Or do I go to a skill path?
Right.
When they've built a corporate kind of one. Or do I go to YouTube and just listen to Gail, who's at her kitchen table and has got some things to talk to you about on time management?
Yeah, and I think you've got to like where they are currently.
Gail is my avatar for Gail.
Gail's your avatar.
Shout out to Gail King, right? Go ahead.
Well, when you're making decisions about what information you want to acquire and where you're going to get it, look at where those people are. Are they in a place that you want to be? And I remember when I got out of college and I wanted to get into coaching and I wanted to get into coaching in college basketball, I wrote coaches that were doing things that I had respect for. And I liked the programs, I liked the players and the way that their teams played. And so I wrote them and said, hey, this is before the internet.
Right.
I wrote them letters and
How
said,
long before the internet, LG? Tell us. Go ahead.
Within the shadows of the internet. How about that? But they would, I would write them and say, hey, look, I like what you're doing. I like the way your teams play. I like the way your players approach the game. I like how hard they play their effort. I want to get into coaching. What would you recommend? What kind of advice would you provide? And a lot
this
of
was
them,
a letter?
This was
And they wrote you back?
And a lot of them did.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I may not have told you that.
No.
I've got some pretty big Hall of Fame coaches that wrote me back.
That wrote you back?
Yeah.
Have you framed it like?
I did. So there's, I'll just throw them out. So Dean Smith, who, rest in peace, was the head coach, a Hall of Fame head coach at North Carolina.
Tar Heels.
Yep. There you go. Roy Williams, when he was at Kansas before he went to North Carolina, I'd written him. Billy Donovan, before he won 2 national championships at Florida, he had just gotten the Florida job. And then a couple other coaches. But I wrote them. They wrote me back, or they had their assistant write, and then they added a handwritten note at the bottom of it. And so I've got a couple of framed letters on the one side, the letter I wrote.
How about that?
And then on the other side is the letter that they wrote back. And it's pretty cool to see that. But my point is,
and here I am waiting for my Joe Montana Sports Illustrated cover to go up in value.
Yeah, that might be a while. But the point of that is that bringing it back to what we're talking about is when you're deciding whose information you want to listen to and what information you want to acquire and who you want to associate or learn from, identify the people that are doing what you want to do, that are in a place that you want to be, that are a little bit further ahead than you, because that's where that information is going to lead you. And that can be a guide for you on who to follow, who to listen to, because you can't listen to everybody.
That's right.
Because if you do, you're going to be so confused, and it's going to take you too far off the path.
And I would tell you, I struggled with that, particularly when I was on the speaking circuit.
Right.
Because I'd have colleagues and contemporaries and people that, of course, and when you're in that circuit, in that world, you run into, we're in Vegas and we're speaking here. And I see you're on the schedule too.
Right.
And I would feel bad because I very rarely will sit in an audience for like a keynote or a live presentation. And it's not, I don't think the people are important or what they have to say. It's just to keep my attention with all the things that are going through my brain. It's just so I would feel kind of like, they'd say, how did I do? I'm like, I wasn't there.
Right.
But I used to feel weird about it because a lot of them would be in my session.
Right.
But, I had to kind of adjust the mentality of, what made sense for me. So there's a few key people that if they're speaking or if they're doing something in an event or if they have a live thing that I'll buy, I'll buy a virtual ticket or whatever to hear, in terms of me making the investment, to hear what they have to say. Because I always know I'm going to, like Delatoro McNeil is one of those people who now, I have the luxury of calling up if I need something or advice or whatever.
Right.
But like if he's speaking, I'm going to go and I want to listen, and I would even invest in that. Not, hey, hook a brother up. I would still invest in doing that because I know there's just going to be something there, whether it's inspiration or there's just going to be some nugget that's going to come out. And everybody's not like that. And there's a lot of great, smart people, but you still have to figure out who you connect with.
Right.
Also, and we've had this conversation, like the Jim Rohn versus Tony Robbins, right? They strong fundamentals in the message, completely different deliveries.
Yeah.
So it's like, who can you connect with there? So you're leading me into the next one. You're good at this because you started to talk about people and who you're going to follow. So the next one really is how you approach networking and mentorship as a means to answer those questions.
Right.
100%. So, I've started doing some networking with an agent guy who has a pretty successful agency, very successful agent, not pretty successful. And, we'll do the lunch.
Right.
And tactically, if I have a question, because that's mentorship is a learning environment.
Yes.
It's not the same as watching a course, but critical skill. I'm trying to solve for X, right? I need to learn X. Who can help me solve that?
Right. If
I can go into my mentorship category to do that and get a mentor. I have a friend, longtime friend in advertising. So if I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? I'll bounce that idea off of him in 2 seconds, and he'll give me the time of day. But that is a learning moment.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you talked about developing those relationships and really those connections with people. And the reason that those people will do that, one, is because somebody helped them get to where they are. Two, because when you get that information, you demonstrate the value of it by doing something with it.
Yeah.
Not everybody like, oh, that's great. I'm gonna pick your brain. Well, what are you gonna do with it? Well, nothing. Then I don't have time for that.
Right.
But you invest in, and then you'll do things that contribute to their benefit as well. Like you'll do things, give them a different perspective, help them understand something. Maybe they're a little bit older and you're a little bit younger, and so they want to understand how to reach an audience that's in your demographic or your age group. Right. There's shared benefit to all of it. Mm-hmm. The reality of it though is that you pick the people that are either like you, that you can identify with, or that are like what you want to do differently. And so we used the example just talked about Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins.
Yep.
You may be a lot like Jim Rohn, and that may be your style. And let's say you want to get a little bit more animated.
Right.
Well, maybe you don't go to Tony Robbins, but you find somebody in between Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins and say, hey, I want to get a little bit more animated. Right. Because some of the feedback that I'm getting is my stories are good, my content's good, but people are falling asleep.
Yeah.
So how do you do that?
Not good.
Right. That's absolutely not good. But the point of it is identify people that are where you want to be and that are doing things that you like the way they're doing them, because then you're going to get the most out of it and they're going to want to support you the most.
I'm smart. Statements create throwbacks and these different things. And I remember this guy telling us he worked for a buddy of mine, and he was talking about, I was speaking at an event, and like, if you're ever at a live event with me, if I'm speaking at, I'm not running around like trying to get myself hyped up or anything. So he said, he's like, he had heard about me and this, that, and the other, but never met me or seen me. And he says, I was watching him over in the corner and kind of like, I was like, this guy doesn't look too exciting.
Right.
Because I'm just, it's once you put me in.
Right.
Right. So he's like, and then he got up there, and then it was like a switch that turned on, right? And I think that also, to your point there, it's finding your style and finding things. Now, there's things that contemporaries and colleagues of mine do that I'm like, that's just, I don't have that. I can be high energy, but I'm not jumping on chairs.
Right. That's a gear
I love. I love when they do their, like, I would never go, you know what? I need to ratchet it up a bit. So I'm going to start jumping on chairs, like, because that wouldn't be authentic to me.
Right.
I wasn't so moved. I jumped off a stage because I was so moved to, through the energy of the room to do that. Right. But you also address something like, figuring out the best way that you learn too.
Right. Yes.
So if it is reading that book, if it is a digest, if it is something on audio, if it's this interaction, right. More kinesthetic, more putting your energy into it,
right,
with a mentor or a learning person, or someone to learn from is important there. Okay. We made it to 5. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I like our chances with 5.
Yeah. I'll stick. So noted. Although we got a lot of people like the part 1, part 2. I mean, like the part 2.
Right.
Sometimes we don't get. I think people would rather us do a part 2 than rush through to try to get it all in one, like just in the future. I think is that, and that's how we've kind of looked at it, like and by accident sometimes, and then sometimes we've done a couple part 2s that were intentional, like we knew out of the gate, and then there were ones that's like, okay, we got to make a decision here.
Right.
We're going 2 hours, and we're going to stretch this. I mean, there are a lot of podcasts that are 2, 3, 4 hours long.
Right.
This won't be one of them, but you had to make that call, and I think we've made the right call.
Agreed. Yeah. I think 5 to 7 is a good number for us to get one.
Yep.
If we are planning, when
and it's
we're
digestible.
It is digestible too. And when you're planning this,
surprise.
When you're planning this, that's a good gauge, right? 5, 6, 7, we can do that.
What
in one.
if I might do a reverse experience? I'm going to make it some anniversary moment.
Okay.
Of episodes that we get to.
Perfect.
Where we'll play role reversal.
Okay.
I won't know what we're talking about. You'll have the topic of the day, and then now I'll have to respond to it. And you'll leave that would be good.
Yeah.
So we'll make that some kind of anniversary type.
Yeah, we'll
type
celebrate.
Thing. All right, number 5, hands-on practice.
Oh my goodness.
Because there is absolutely no point in you learning something new that you're not going to put into practical application. And this, of course, because of our sales backgrounds, we go back to that as an immediate thing. Right? You learn a new technique, something new in an email. That needs to be your next email.
Right.
Ask this question, say this, open this way. That's got to be the next thing that you do.
Right.
And then the faster you can get through, the more times you can do it, of course. Now, again, I'm not giving you a breakthrough science here, but this is also about putting it at the front of your mind.
Right.
To realize that and to understand that learning by doing is super effective, right? And applying the knowledge immediately.
Yeah.
Right? I've literally heard something. I'm like, ooh, that's good. Let me go use it right now.
Right. Yeah.
I've made some tweaks to like some of our emails and things. So I heard a trainer, a guy I respect, a guy who has a great track record. I heard him say this out and give this as a technique to his audience. And I'm like, I really like that. Next email. Now, I didn't go, let me belabor it. Next email. Right. Let me see what happens.
Right.
Now, did it work? I got responses. So did it work, or would that person have responded to what I used to say? I don't know. Right. But I know that I put it in immediate action.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's a very important factor in prioritizing your learning, figuring out the modality to learn, getting the learning, and then trying it out.
Right. Well, and I'm a firm believer in practice prepares you, right? Practice prepares you to do a thing.
Yep.
Well, you've got to do the thing once you practice it. So and that's what you're talking about, right? Practice is great. And I'm a firm believer in practicing, especially in sales, practicing your delivery, especially, very few people can stand up and deliver a 1-hour keynote without practicing it and doing it well.
Right. Sure.
So practice prepares you, but then you got to get up and do the thing.
That's right.
Because
when the church say amen.
Well, I'll use the example the other night is Alabama and Auburn were playing in a basketball game, and they started the game and there were no lights. Well, all they had to rely on was practice. They couldn't see. Now the lights came on and they started playing the game and all that. But those things, my point in saying that is things are going to happen in the act of doing the thing.
Yes.
So while practice prepares you, you still have to do the thing so that you can then learn what else you need to practice.
I was on stage speaking to a group of people and the projector went out. Now, obviously, had I not known my material,
right,
I would have been in big trouble.
Right.
Because people get confused, right? PowerPoints, things of that nature are sales aids. Your whole presentation isn't the PowerPoint. Right. But what I find is because I hear people say stupid stuff like, oh, a real trainer or speaker doesn't need slides. Okay, great. I'll just eliminate a whole segment of my audience
right,
who are visual learners.
Right.
Because I'm on some ego tear or like things like that. I just roll my eyes. And there's intelligent people who make those kind of comments, you know.
Right.
It's like those who can't do, those who can't teach.
Right.
That's so dumb. What's that?
Oh, I thought we were going to get that.
Oh, that's just dumb. Yeah, he wasn't because he didn't even know what I'm going to say. But
Right.
but like I gave it to him in real life. We didn't need the soundbite, right? But like that, like statements like that, I understand they're supposed to be cute, but it's so misleading because people will acquire that statement as a belief system.
Right.
And you and I both know great salespeople, terrible sales managers, mediocre salespeople, phenomenal sales managers. Right? I mean, you like to use sports as it's not an obvious transition. There's a lot of great coach, Pat Riley. Right? But he was a marginal player, right? He wasn't that great, was he? Or was I don't know.
He was good enough to play in the league.
Right.
He wasn't a Hall of Fame player.
Right. Now
he's a Hall of Fame executive.
Right. Executive, coach. I mean, look. So that's what makes statements like that dumb.
Well, what it does is it discounts that different people need different things.
Right.
And so while your example is you went in prepared, and the reason that you were able to continue to deliver that keynote is because you knew the material. And so because you practice that material,
sure.
But you wouldn't be able to deliver that keynote without slides unless you were forced into a situation to do it. And the next time you prepare, well, if this happens again, here's how I'll do it differently.
Got to print out.
So you go, so you do, but you do the thing, right?
Turn to page 3. Well, and I'll make the next bullet points now.
when you talk about keynotes though, right?
Yeah.
So I was doing a keynote a couple of years ago, and it was a pre-recorded introduction to make sure that they got it right. It was pre-recorded. It was like, The Price is Right. It said voice coming out of the loudspeaker.
Yep.
And given my background, it was pre-recorded so that it was done the way we all wanted it to be done.
Right.
I'm standing behind the curtain while this recording is starting, and it says, "Please welcome to the stage, Lon Graham," and it was supposed to go into my background. It got stuck like an old 45.
You got a Milli Vanilli moment.
Right, exactly. Please welcome to the stage, Lon Graham. Please welcome to the stage, Lon Graham. Please welcome. It went 3 times, and finally the host jumped up on stage and said, "Well, you know who's coming."
Right.
If I hadn't done stand-up for a couple of years, I wouldn't have been able to adapt to that situation, come out, turn it into a joke, and then go. So the whole point of all of that is you're not having access to the projector, not having access to your slides, me having to adapt. Anybody who's ever done anything that's had to learn from doing it, practice prepares you, but it only prepares you to do the thing that you need to do.
I used to have one of my questions was about, craziest entrepreneurship moment that I would ask some of our podcast guests. And, one of mine was always having to speak to 500 people on stage after having an emergency root canal.
Oh.
So I ended up having to have a root canal and then get up on stage. So the Novocaine was still going on. All this stuff was still happening. It was a pretty interesting thing. But you're leading me up. We're going to wrap up today, but you're leading me to a great point. I think we're definitely going to be having a conversation because there's a lot of speaker stories. We're definitely going to have a conversation in a future episode about speaking as a means to build your business.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of opportunity there
100%.
and how people can do that. There's so much emphasis on digital marketing, and we forget about some of the good old fashioned ways. Now you've got virtual, you've got other ways to do that, but there's I forget what my friend Delatoro says is there's money in your message or money in your mouth or something like that.
Yeah.
See, that's why I listen. Always good things that come out of it.
Good.
So we're going to be covering that here, but today we wanted to have that takeaway. So go out there and get some new skills, right? What advice do you have people that are like, hey, should I go right now? Should I wait? Should I plan it? What do you think?
I think that it goes back to identify what you're trying to accomplish in your business, find the barriers to success, And either you or somebody in your business do something to remove that barrier. So we'll go back to the very beginning when you talked about the 15 people on the call about adding Stripe to a website.
Right.
Assign one person who's got some technical skills and say, go learn how to do this and come back and help us run this.
Right.
Make it, just remove that barrier instead of everybody freaking out.
Yep.
So to wrap it all up is, in order to continue to advance your business, find things that are in the way of you being successful in the way that you want to be successful, and then figure out whether it's you or somebody else in your business that can get that skill, and then identify the best way for that person to go acquire it.
Voice of reason. There you go. I don't have. I'm giving you the last word on that, because it was brilliant as always. And before we wrap up, of course, as we like to start, we also like to end with thanking you. If you are getting value from what we're doing, we encourage you to share with other business owners, entrepreneurs, people who need to hear this message, people who need some tactics and want to be entertained. We encourage you to share it. We're streaming across all the major platforms now, and we want to continue to thank you for your viewership. We're 5 stars and 4.8. I don't know who that 0.2 was, but I'm looking for you. But we've got some great 5-star ratings that are coming on, and we're continuing to build this thing, and we're going to continue to be here for you as long as you continue to come back. And encourage other people to do it. So thank you for all you're doing out there and building your business. We want to encourage you to do that, encourage you to grow, which is our mission. And we're going to get out of here. For Willie H, I'm Cory Mosley, and who's this guy right here?
Lon Graham,
LG007. We are out. We'll see you on the next episode of the Grow Business Podcast. Willie H, take us out. He was on the cue there. Yeah. We're going to do some behind the scenes. Of you dancing.
Chair dancing?
I want to see exactly. I want to see what you would do to this. How, how smooth you make it.
Go a little country on. I'll do a couple 2 laps.
Yeah, get LG in the club. We got to get a club night. LG. I love it. She was so entertaining.
Put her to sleep.
Yes, that's how entertaining we are. We put you to sleep over there.
She's like, I got nothing for you.